Hey, good evening, and welcome to Cooking with Bruzo. Today we're gonna do some curry goat, my favorite here in Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody does it different, but I'm going to show you how I do it. Right now, take a look. I will let you know the ingredients that I'm using and the style. There's a Trinidad style mixed with a little Jamaican. Take a little Jamaican flavor in it. Right, so let me get to it now. So this is the goat here. Of course, when you're prepping all meat, make sure and wash your meat, especially when it comes to meat like goat and stuff like that. It tends to be very gamey. So don't just buy goat and take it out of the pack and start to season. Make sure and wash it. Some people put vinegar in it, but that's entirely up to you. The vinegar does assist in getting out that little extra slime, but water is fine as well. So here we have fresh thyme, onion, garlic, sweet pepper, um, and this is just the base, that I'm starting with. This is nowhere near all the seasoning that we are going to use. Now, of course, when you put the seasoning on your meat, make sure and mix it, get in there. If you are a chef, some people use gloves, but this is for my personal household. So I'm using my hands. Of course, it does not need to be said. Make sure your hands are clean. Make sure you're washing every minute. All right, get in there. Now, the amount of ingredients you use depends on the amount of meat, obviously. This is roughly 5 pounds of goat. So I cut up enough seasoning to marinate this amount. All right, but as I said, this is just the base. Make sure and mix it up as best as you can. All right, nowhere near finished as far as seasoning goes, but we just starting with this. Now, once you get that out of the way, we have now Trinidadians we use green seasoning. It is a favorite of ours. It is definitely something that is a must. But that's not to say that you can't use powdered seasoning as well. This is what we are also going to add to this pot. All right, so we have some black pepper, salt, a bit of paprika, ginger powder, garlic powder. Now, even though you are adding these as powders, remember I indicated that I also put fresh garlic and fresh onion in the goat, right? So, as I said, make sure you're washing all the time. So what I'm going to do now is apply some of the powdered seasonings. Definitely going to start with some black pepper. I don't want to show the brand, but whatever is your favorite, you go ahead. Make sure and apply enough depending on, as I said, the amount of meat that you are cooking. All right. Salt. You have to be very tricky with salt because, as the name, as we all know, just by the name alone, what salt does to every dish, and sometimes you can overpower it. And regardless of everything else that you put in your pot, if you put too much salt, you can destroy your dish. So no one wants to be tasting something that is a little too salty, right? So I would suggest for 5 pounds of goat, probably about 2 teaspoons, 2.5 teaspoons. But of course, when the meat is on the stove, you still have the option to add salt when you taste. You must taste your dish to see if you are getting that flavor that you are looking for. All right. So now what we will do, we will add our garlic powder. Again, another tricky seasoning. You want to add just enough to get a flavorful dish, but not so much that it overpowers. All right, again, we are free-handed, but that is only because of some experience, cooking for a little while. I'm not a super chef, but my mom, grandmom, even my wife, they have instilled some stuff in me, and I don't mind showing you guys. But if you are just starting out, I would always recommend following a recipe, because a recipe would be a lot more detailed in terms of how much stuff you use, have it labeled in terms of teaspoons, tablespoons, etc. All right, so that is the ginger powder we just added. A little bit, nothing too much. Now remember, this goes for all meats. Paprika is extremely strong. We have the regular version and you have a smoked version. It all depends on the flavor that you are going for. Do not kill your dish with too much paprika either. All right, so once again, we get in there. Make sure you mix. Make sure you get as much of the meat, well, not as much. Make sure you get all the meat, surrounded by the seasoning. Get in there. Now, obviously, if I wasn't holding the phone to show you guys, I would more than likely be using both hands, right? But I'm using one hand to record so that you all can see what I am doing, right? Get in there. Don't be afraid to mix. Now, at this point, if you are satisfied with the seasoning that you have utilized, at this point, you can cover down your dish. If you are doing a quick cook, you should cover it down for at least two hours or so that the goat will get a great infusion of the flavor. Now, if you can, like myself, this is a dish that is going to be done the next day. So the next time you see me, it will be uh, probably 24 hours later, or maybe not so long, probably about 8 to 9 hours later, and we will continue the dish. Now, before I close off, a lot of folks, when they're doing curry goat, they would do this part of the seasoning and then use the curry paste or the style of cooking the curry on the pot for them to get the curried flavor that you're looking for. Me personally, I am not finished. What I do is go to my curry of choice, and again, depending on the amount of meat that you use, will determine how much curry you put on your dish. Right? Now, because we know that it is going into the pot under curry again, I will just use 1 teaspoon or so. All right. Start off with that amount, and then, of course, get into it again. All right. Now, for anybody who has watched chefs, cooks, people who sell street food and have great experience in the kitchen, you would see them even when they do this, even though the meat is raw, they would take their finger and touch and taste their finger to see how just the regular seasoning that they have just used to get your meat marinated, how does that taste? And even before it cooked, you can tell just off of that alone if you think that you're not tasting enough salt, or you're not getting enough pepper, or you find the paprika is non-existent, whatever it is. And you can now go ahead and add more to your meat. All right. Now I'm pretty much satisfied. I think that 1 teaspoon is enough. So what I'll do now, wash your hands, of course. All right. Make sure and wash your hands. Right. So I have stirred the pot. You know, now to be honest with you guys, I'm not even gonna front. I think for £5, my pot could have been a little bigger, but it is what it is. We'll make it work. But it is on relatively medium heat, and we're gonna cover this down, let it spring its own water for the next 12 minutes or so, and then we'll check back in and to continue the process. A lot of stuff still to go in, so hold on, stay with me in the meantime. Like, comment, subscribe. Enjoy. So welcome back. We have the aromatics in the pot at the moment. There's garlic, onion, and cumin seeds, some jeera. We're gonna let that roast for a little bit before we put the curry in the pot to burn or cook. All right. So about three tablespoons of curry should work for £5 of goat. If you wish, you can add more, but that's entirely up to you. All right. So what we have now, I have added the curry. All right. All right. Now put this on medium heat. You don't want it too high because you don't want to burn your curry. Once the curry is burnt, the flavor will come across to your meat. Now in this, for me personally, I have added just about a teaspoon or so of, a teaspoon and a half of saffron or turmeric powder, and 1 teaspoon of masala. Now again, that is based on preference. You can use curry only, right? But this is what I would like to put in to my dish, right? So now we're gonna add the goat. Of course, we will always reiterate, make sure you have washed your hands multiple times, just because, well, to be obvious, cleanliness. Whether you're cooking for yourself or you're cooking for others, you want to make sure that health, cleanliness is always a part of your um, preparation. All right. All right. So with this done, you take your wooden spoon, or in my case, my metal spoon, and you swerve until the curry coats the meat. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to temporarily pause because I think I'm going to need 2 hands for this. All right, by the time I come back, you will see most of the goat coated in that curry color, and then we will cover it down for about 10 to 12 minutes so that it can spring its own water, and we'll take it from there.
Right, so this here
And
is roughly
this
about two and
here,
a half
folks, is
hours
the finished product.
after
As
putting
easy
the
as you
pot
see in this
on the
here, this
stove,
is
the
2
goat
hours.
to cook. I think it was went a little beyond 2.5, probably about 2 and 45 minutes, almost 3. The time does matter based on the how much heat you have and the level of tenderness you're looking for. If you're looking for it to fall off the bone, keep it on low heat. Make sure and keep tasting so that you could add the necessary salt if you need to. Other than that, about 2.5, 2 hours and 45 minutes of cooking. This is the finished product. I hope that you guys enjoy the process. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Ask any questions that you may want to know. All right, but this was excellent. Now, the one thing that I didn't add that I could have added was pepper, Scotch bonnet pepper, but because of the people that I had taken part in this dish, I did not want it to be too hot. But heat sometimes is needed with dishes like this. even flavorful heat. But I opted not to put in a whole pepper. Sometimes the whole pepper can burst in the dish. Enjoy and take care.